What's going on, everyone? Welcome back. Today, a good friend of mine, Thorn, was able to reach rank number 1 on the Go Battle League leaderboards using this team. It's a very spicy team using Shadow, Alolan Golem, and Amoonguss, so I'm very excited to see how it goes. I'm not normally this spicy of a person, but in this meta, I can see why it could have some play. If you want to see my battles live, I stream almost every single day at twitch.tv/ItsAXN, where you can see live insights into my gameplay and see my teams early. I'd love to see you there. But without further ado, let's get into the battles and see what this team can do. Alright, let's get into game number 1. Shadow, Alolan Golem up against the Toxapex in the lead. Fantastic. Honestly, Wild Charge probably nearly one-shots this thing from full health. What is our opponent going to do? They top left. Maybe it's double fire or something. Love to see it. Golem on the first game of the day, apparently just making our opponents quit the first time they see it. Next matchup, another good lead, but not quite as good because they do have access to Bone Club. They do end up swapping out to their Kingdra after doing a Fire Spin, though. So I'm going to chip it down with this Rock Blast, try to get a shield or a lot of damage into them, and then come in with our Jumpluff, who has the super effective Fairy Wind damage, and who is a very bulky Pokemon that I know can survive an Outrage. I'm fine calling this move. Even if they land the Outrage here, I can get to 2 Aerial Aces before they can knock us out, and I don't want to end up shielding an Octazooka bait, especially because that Marowak in the backline, if it gets a huge energy lead, could pose a big threat for our Golem and for our Amoonguss. Here comes the first ace. They end up no-shielding it the second one coming through. Either they can shield this for switch advantage, or they're going to no-shield and lose switch and shield advantage here. Our opponent opts to let that go, farm us down with the Marowak. I can bring in my Shadow Golem once again, and rollouts are starting to add up so quickly against this Pokemon. Rollout is not normally the highest damaging move that you're going to see, but with a Shadow Rock type here, it's so much more damage than a Dunsparce normally that you see using Rollout is able to do. Rock Blast is going to come through, our opponent catches, but on a Jumpluff, this Pokemon is a lot bulkier than Marowak, but it is still weak to the Rock type damage here. It does nearly a quarter, or nearly 40% rather, of their health. The next one coming through, what is my opponent going to want to do? Rock Blast gets a ton more damage on them. They're in rollout downrange. I reach yet another Rock Blast before they can knock out our Golem. I'm going to throw my move once again before they can throw their energy to make them make the decision, and they end up letting it go, and now the Fasters this game are adding up so much against them. I do have a Rock Blast loaded here, but I also know this Pokemon has no Fire-type Chargers unless they're running Fire Blast, which they will not reach, so I can just come in with our Amoonguss here and astonish them all the way down. GG's to our opponent. Alright, next game, Shadow Golem up against Leavanny. Another Pokemon weak to Rock-type damage, but this is a Grass-type, which also means that they have Leaf Blade. They're going to be very spammy here. They can get both of our shields if they want to, but I know I can also just 2-shield, roll out them all the way down, and energy on Shadow Alolan Golem is always very scary. Leaf Blade ends up getting our first shield. I'm going to get a shield back or get a knockout with our Rock Blast right now. Let's see what they want to do. They will outpace me to the next charge move, though, with how spammy Leaf Blade is. Our opponent opts to throw the next one here, and it's going to be interesting to see if they're going to try to just let us get the farm down, or if they're going to swap out now and save their Leavanny for later. Looks like our opponent this time does actually opt to swap out to a Morpeko, a Pokemon which is a little bit scary for our team. I can go for the Wild Charge. It does do more raw damage in these neutral scenarios, and then come in with our Jumpluff to tank all the energy that we can. This is going to be a little bit tricky because I was a bit slow to this swap. They might actually reach 2 Aura Wheels against us before I can reach an Energy Ball to take out this Morpeko, but that's kind of fine because I still have my Golem with a ton of energy. I can come back in with it, try to knock him out, maybe with a Rock Blast, potentially, and see what they're going to do from here. We don't know what their final Pokemon is going to be this game. They still have access to that Leavanny as either a catch, or maybe they can get to a move against our Amoonguss. I don't remember just how much HP they have. I'm going to make sure I knock out this Morpeko as soon as I can. I don't want them swapping out. Maybe they have Psychic Fangs as well they could get to very soon. I'm just going to knock them out because they're double boosted. And in the backline, maybe one of the worst Pokemon that our Golem could see, it's going to be a Unova Stunfisk. I have only resisted Charge Move and Fast Move Pressure here. I'm going to just throw the Rock Blast to get a little bit of chip and also stall my Switch Clock so I can get out and make it so they don't farm us down, and then come in with our other Grass-type Pokemon, Amoonguss. This is going to be a very interesting endgame. They can make a catch potentially here, and if they make a catch on our Grass Knot, we might end up losing this game. Our opponent throwing yet another Mud Bomb. They're going to need 2 more of those, though, if they want to take us out here. In comes that Leavanny. Do they get to a move? No, we astonish them all the way down. We have that move loaded right now on our Amoonguss. Is Grass Knot going to be enough to knock out? It's a strong move, but it's also a very bulky Pokemon. Fighting another bulky Pokemon, it's just barely enough to take out the Unova Stunfisk. GG's to our opponent. Next matchup, our Golem up against Quagsire. That might be one of the trickier leads that we could see here. I'm going to safe swap with our Amoonguss. This is going to be Amoonguss's time to shine. I love safe swapping it because Astonish and Foul Play actually makes it kind of formidable against a lot of fire types in this meta. It could also run Sludge Bomb, which if you want to have a little bit more of a guaranteed amount of damage against these fire types, you could run that instead. But I do like the pacing of Foul Play here. Opponent actually going for a full farm down, it looks like, rather than throwing a move here to knock us out. That means I get a shield and I get a ton of damage against this Talonflame. I can come into their Golem now and try to go for a full farm down against them. I'm hoping that this rollout knocks them out so they don't get a second charge move off here, but Fly and Brave Bird are going to be extremely resisted with our Rock and Electric type Pokemon, so even though they do actually reach that second move on 1 HP, I survive that with a little bit of HP here, and I'm hoping Jumpluff is not going to be RPS in the backline. Well, that's a little bit unfortunate. This is going to be one of the worst Pokemon I could have seen here, a Shadow Marowak. It's a double fire team, which obviously is going to do a lot of work into our double grass lineup, especially with that Quagsire in the lead. Maybe there's a chance here. I know Jumpluff can put in work against Marowak just because we have this shield advantage and we are so spammy with aerial aces, but I don't think we're going to be able to come out of this matchup with enough energy to get to an energy ball against that Quagsire. With that said, I'm going to try my best here, go for these aces, chip them down. 3 should be enough here to put them into range where they're going to have to start shielding, and I do reach my next charge move. If they no-shield this, their Quagsire is going to have to shield energy balls potentially. We'll see what they do. They opt to shield that move up. I try to snipe them down with Golem, but they instantly swap out, and at that point, they could farm us down, have too much energy across the board. GG's to them. Very tricky team. Next matchup, a good lead, a grass type obviously, but a grass and flying type Pokemon. They swap out to Kingdra. I instantly swap this time to our Jumpluff. It's a non-Shadow Kingdra as well, which means that I don't do quite as much damage to them. They don't do quite as much damage to me, but this energy ball is still going to do a massive amount of damage if they opt to let it through. They opt to shield it up so they don't get farmed down just yet by our Jumpluff, and because I know that we want to keep switch if we can here, I'm going to shield this up and try our best to get as much energy for the backline as possible. I don't have a great hard answer to Jumpluff because even if they have an energy lead, our Shadow Golem could potentially get one shot, so what I want to do here is use our own Jumpluff to chip them down, maybe get some aerial aces into them, and if we can get them chipped down to about half health, even if our Amoonguss has to face off against this, we should be in a decent spot. It really depends on the final Pokemon this game to see if we're going to have a lot of play, and maybe they're going to bait us at some point with an aerial ace, or maybe they just go straight for the energy ball against our Golem. They end up doing a charge move here. Is it going to be enough to knock us out? I don't think it's quite enough here, which means we get yet another aerial ace through. This should put them into the yellow as well, which means that we can go for a fast move down against them. Maybe even a Foul Play or a Rock Blast could knock them out from this range, but they do get a bit of a nasty farm down. I'm going to wait a turn, try to catch the move on our Amoonguss. If this is a bait, that's annoying. If this is just a full send, it's a fantastic catch. Our opponent, they bait the aerial ace here, meaning that if I would have just stayed in Golem, no shield, that would have been the play, but we caught a super effective aerial ace rather than an energy ball. That is fantastic stuff from our opponent. Another aerial ace coming through, and now this game is looking very uncomfortable. With that said, I do have a lot of energy. There are some win conditions this game, namely if they have a Pokemon in the backline we can one-shot with a move, we might still have a chance here. That might be it. It's a Shadow Quagsire. I should not have gone for Foul Play. It does not make my next move cheaper. I still need to get another 2 Astonishes to get my energy ball. Luckily, they do end up shielding that, or my Grass Knot rather. We end up going for the Grass Knot after getting the shield, and we win CMP against Quagsire, one-shotting it with our Amoonguss. We can now swap back into Golem, go for a full rollout down against Jumpluff, and somehow win that one. GG's to our opponent. Next game, Golem against Shadow Quagsire. Yet again, a terrible Pokemon to see for our Golem here, but we can say swap our Grass type, see what we can do here. They respond with a Toxapex as their counter swap, which is a Pokemon that obviously is a very bulky pick, but we can start whittling it down with Astonish damage and also with Grass Knot. With that said, they are going to be able to go for these Poison Jabs, and then very soon after go for a Sludge Wave as well, which means this is going to do a lot of damage if I end up letting it go. I want to shield this up, because even though I know I probably can't flip switch here, or if I do, I have to go down some sort of resources, I do want this to be in a comfortable rollout down range potentially for our Golem later on. In comes our next Grass Knot. We do end up actually landing the move, which means that even though they are landing another move, this is just a brine, and we have actually flipped switch advantage this game, which could be helpful, but it's also a little bit scary using a Pokemon as squishy as a Shadow Golem down shields. And also the other very annoying thing about this, Quagsire has access to Stone Edge. Our Jumpluff is not a very hard answer to it, especially down shields and down energy. So if I can't get to another charge move here, I might be in some trouble. But Amoonguss hanging on 1 HP, getting yet another Foul Play off against this Quagsire. If I can draw a shield with this, that is fantastic. We actually get both shields with Amoonguss putting in so much work right now. I know they have 100 energy. I have to no-shield the first move. I'll shield the next one if we have to here, but I don't want to shield before they reveal their final Pokemon. We have no idea what it's going to be right now. They do throw energy. It could be a bait, but I can't risk it at this point. I'm forced to shield up this move. It is a Stone Edge, and are we going to see the final Pokemon? They attempt to catch. It's going to be a Golisopod in the back, which is a Pokemon that could be either very good or very bad for us, depending on what their moveset is. I've seen some Golisopods not run Liquidation in this meta. If this is X or Aerial Ace, then I know I can survive the move, farm them all the way down, go for a Wild Charge against the Quagsire. If that is the case, we might have a chance here. X-Scissor comes through, we survive it, we have the Wild Charge ready to go, we can one-shot the remaining health on the Shadow Quagsire despite being resisted. It's a powerful move, Shadow into Shadow, 2 kind of squishy Pokemon. Quagsire goes down, GG's to our opponent. Next game, what are we going to see our Shadow Golem lead off into a Ferrothorn, one of the worst possible matchups here, but the best thing is we have two good answers to this in the backline, and we bait out a Pokemon that honestly is not the best answer here to our Amoonguss. Shadow Marowak is obviously going to be a Pokemon that is taking super effective damage from both Foul Play and Astonish, which means that we are actually adding up quite a bit of damage against them, and they can't quite get the farm down before we can get to that next Foul Play. With that said, Golem, it can come back in here. It'll have to shield up Bone Clubs because Bone Club will be super effective, but I'm going to get a bit of a nasty energy head start, and despite the fact that Ferrothorn resists both electric and rock type damage, I have so much offensive pressure that it doesn't really matter. I can still probably do about 40% of their health just with charge moves if I can land a wild charge against that Ferro. With that said, I don't really want to be in that matchup. If I can come in with our jump up, maybe make a catch, then I can be in a very good spot. But we'll see what our opponent wants to do. I attempt the catch here, but they don't fall for it. They swap out to a Fire and Flying type. I thought at first that was a Shadow Talonflame, rather. It's a Shadow Charizard, a Pokemon that we can probably actually go for a two-shot with Aerial Ace damage. And then if we can use our Jump Fluff to take out a bit of HP on that Ferrothorn, we might be able to whittle them down into a range where we could knock them out with wild charges with our Pokemon in the backline. I can go for another Air Release. Maybe we'll draw a shield. Maybe we won't. They baited us with Dragon Claw, but I don't think they're going to be able to get to another charge move here. They opt to let it go. We Fairy Wind all the way down, and we are outside of range right now where a Thunder or a Flash Cannon could knock us out. They'll probably need to throw two moves here to take us out if they want to. Thunder not doing quite enough, and now we can reach the first Air Release. If I can reach a second one, I think we might be able to win this game as long as we can land both Wild Charges. That first one does quite a bit of damage here. Not too much to put them into range where Wild Charge will knock them out, but now that I've landed that first attack, this second one will either draw a shield or put them well into range where I can knock them out with a move with our Golem. I think we might be outside of range as well, where a Power Whip could knock us out. If they go for a Thunder, I think that I can just go back-to-back Wild Charges here no matter what, because they don't have back-to-back moves. They literally can't if they throw that move, and now in comes our first Wild Charge. If they let it go, it should knock out. Our opponent opts to let it go, knowing I do have back-to-back, and they just have to hope they survive it. GG's to them. Next game, another Ferrothorn in the lead. Not catching a break right now. A lot of Mud Boys, a lot of Grass types that you have to worry about, but our backline, especially our Amoonguss Safe Swap, is where we can put in a lot of work. Our opponent counter-swapping with a Charge-a-Bug here, a Pokemon that obviously is going to be very neutral in this matchup, but it is not a hard answer. Foul Play going to do a decent chunk. They might think it's a Sludge Bomb as well. They might want to shield that up, which it looks like they are going to do. Good timing by our opponent here, throwing after 2 Volt Switches. 4-turn into 3-turn move timing is always very hard, but this opponent obviously knows what they're doing. X-Scissor does a decent chunk of our health, but we reach yet another Foul Play here. Might either get a lot of damage into them or yet another shield. If they opt to shield this, then honestly, I don't really know what to do here. I know that I could try to flip switch, but I would have to double shield. Is it going to be worth it? I think at this point it probably is. I don't want anything with that Ferrothorn against our Golem in the backline, so if I can get switch advantage, maybe there's still a chance for us right now. I might even be able to throw a charge move against whatever's going to farm us down, so if that is the case, we might be in a good spot. Foul Play ends up coming through here. What is it going to do? Can it knock them out? I think it will be able to after all of this Astonish damage. In comes a Marowak, and unfortunately, they were able to get a full farm down before the Foul Play is reached. This is not good. I think we all know what's about to happen. I can't really bring in our Grass type, but I also know that they have access to Bone Club, a move that is going to do massive damage being a ground type attack. It's non-stab from a non-shadow Marowak here, but no, that's too much damage. They're able to go for the full far down against us, and at that point, Jump Up not able to close out that backline. So close, but so far. I guess I really can't catch a break here. Another Ferrothorn in the lead. I'm going to try once again to win this game, but it's going to be very tricky. Okay, we bait out the Talonflame here. That's a Pokemon that we want to get rid of before our Jumpluff has to see it. And if we can farm this down with our Golem later on this game, it could put us in a good spot. Our opponent does opt to actually let that go this time. No shield from a potential Sludge Bomb, but that's fine. We can let this go. Farm down with our Golem, maybe get 3 rollouts here and knock them out before they can get to a charge move. We'll just have to wait and see what our opponent's able to do. Rollout damage should add up very quickly here. Yeah, looks like 3 will be more than enough to take them out. And now we almost have a Wild Charge, and if we can, I'm going to try to catch a move once again on Jump Up, but they don't end up falling for it. They throw a move after the fact anyway, though. Likely going to be a Thunder, not a Power Whip, but this move is going to drain a lot of energy from them. And now that I have a huge energy lead with Golem, and that they have almost no energy on their Ferrothorn, there might be a way to flip that later on. Especially because this matchup right here is actually fantastic for our Jump Fluff. They're a little bit ABA weak to our Jump Fluff, which means maybe I can draw shields. Maybe I can chip them down with our Jump Fluff and make it so our Golem in the backline should be able to win this game. This is going to be tricky, though, depending on a debuff scenario with Octazooka. I'm going to overfarm. I knew they were trying to CMP us here, which means we can shield this up, get to back-to-back charge moves, hopefully no debuff with an Octazooka. They go for the Outrage, actually, instead. Not even a chance of a debuff with that move. Aerial Ace should come through, draw a shield, or get the knockout against this Kingdra. They opt to let it go, and because they do that, I know they can't Bullet Seed me down with Ferrothorn. They're forced to throw energy here. They probably could, at this point, though, just go for a Power Whip, but because I'm able to get this chip damage off, because I have so much energy, as well on my Golem in the backline, I should be able to win this game just with raw charge move pressure right now. I have basically two back-to-back moves with our Golem. We end up going for the wild charge number 1 here. How much damage does it do? Will we find out? Do they shield this? Let's see what our opponent wants to do this game. Wild charge ends up landing, doing massive damage, and now we have to commit to the rollout down or go for 2 rock blasts. But by the time I got the 2 rock blasts, I know the next rollout will be enough here. Just shield farm all the way down. Somehow Golem once again taking out Ferrothorn from one of the worst leads you could possibly see. All right, next matchup, Shadow Golem. Okay, I just had to jinx myself. That might be worse. It's a Gastrodon. That is a terrible lead to see. And once again, a Talonflame on the counter swap. A very familiar scenario to be in. Lost lead, followed by lost swap. But Amoonguss trying its best here to draw shields from this Pokemon. Maybe I can get a shield advantage. Maybe I can get a big farm down with our Golem as well. We'll just have to wait and see what our opponent does. They actually tried to go... No, I thought they were going to go for the full farm down. But no, at the last second here, they do opt to throw energy. Smart play by them. Flame Charge as well, very interesting moveset. They actually are able to get the move off here. That was a very risky play by our opponent, doing 1 extra Incinerate, and now they throw a Fly. I think, honestly, Flame Charge probably does more damage there, saying Fly is double resisted, but, fine by me. And they end up having... Hold on. I was about to top left. You saw it there. I clicked the menu, but then I saw what came in. I saw a Fire type. I thought it's Shadow Typhlosion for sure. That's not Shadow Typhlosion, that's a Magmortar. It does have Fire Punch and Karate Chop, which is a spammy moveset, but Energy Lead on Jumpluff might be able to flip this game. I have Aerialist number 1, the second one already ready to go. Magmortar is so squishy, this might be able to 2-shot here, and if I can use my Jumpluff to 1-shot that Gastrodon later on this game, there could still be some sort of hope for us right now. This is going to be tricky though, because I know this thing also is able to reach a Scorching Sands as well, which would 1-shot our potential Golem in the backline. I need to be very careful with our energy management. I need to watch for a catch potentially if they want to do that with an Aerialist as well, and we are getting close to range where 1 or 2 body slams from a Gastrodon could also knock out our Jumpluff. With that said, we've drawn both shields from this Magmortar right now. Fire Punch is coming through once again. I have the ace loaded. Our opponent tries to catch the ace. I'm going to snipe them down with this energy ball. I can make sure I get the knockout here, and hopefully our Golem in the backline should be able to win this game. I'm going to try to catch myself here on a Fire Punch. We don't quite get it, but our opponent forced to throw energy before we get the full rollout down. We do have a full-on move loaded on our Jumpluff. They are not at back-to-back moves. I know this for a fact. We can go for the Aerialist and somehow take the game back from the jaws of defeat. I was 1 second away from clicking the top left button and closing out of that match, but somehow Jumpluff overcoming Magmortar and Gastrodon in the backline. GG's to them. Next game, a Golem in the lead, a fellow Golem enjoyer right now. We're going to try our best to win this matchup because our Jumpluff doesn't really want to see this. Our Amoonguss as well, not exactly a hard answer into this thing, and I'm going to try to call that this is just going to be a Rock Blast. I know that Wild Charge is going to be resisted, but it is going to be a much stronger move. It should still do more raw damage here and put them into a range where we can farm them down before they can farm us down. Our opponent opts to try to call it, and now I'm going to catch a move or attempt to catch a move, which we don't quite get, but they still throw energy anyway on our Amoonguss. We get a full farm down there, meaning that's 1 Pokemon down from our opponent. We still have access to a Shadow Golem, and we actually see that our opponent is using a Jumpluff of their own. I'm kind of thinking at this point they might be using the same team as me. ItsAXN did upload his team to Twitter, so there's a chance this is another copycat here using the same rank number 1 in the world team. So if that is the case, and if it is going to be their own Amoonguss in the backline, this might be in a bad spot right now. I know that later on down the road, I should be in a decent spot where I can align my own Jumpluff against their Amoonguss, and I also have access to my Golem against this Jumpluff. With that said, we haven't seen that found Pokemon just yet, though, so we'll have to see what it's going to be. Shadow Golem is a little bit low on health. Our opponent has an Astonish user that's not an Amoonguss, but it is a Pokemon that our Jumpluff still loves to see. It's another Grass-type Pokemon. We can no-shield. They did not even bait a Brave Bird here. That's only going to be a Spirit Shackle. We survived that easily. Astonish is going to start adding up, but we can outpace them so quickly to these Aerialaces, and if one ever lands, I know I can just farm them all the way down with Fairy Wind damage, because Decidueye is not very bulky. Another Aerialist coming through right now. Our opponent is likely going to have to shield this move up if they want any chance here, but they opt to let it go, hoping that they'll be able to survive the fast move onslaught, but I don't think it's going to be enough for them at this point. Fairy Wind is not the highest damaging move in the game, but they are so low on HP at this point. If I can farm them down before the next move is reached, then this game is more than over. I have 2 back-to-back charge moves on our Jumpluff. We have energy as well on our Golem. If they shield this move, I can just combo play them, finish off this Jumpluff in just a second. They actually opt to let it go, so I have another move ready to go here, and now I can just combo play after this if they opt to shield this one. And there we go. Now we can come in Golem, go for the Wild Charge, and take out the Jumpluff this game. GG's to our opponent. Very similar teams, but that is how I like to play out the mirror. Just try to catch moves if I can on Amoonguss, go for the Wild Charge in the mirror match as well to get the most raw damage possible, and it ended up working out for us that game. Next matchup going to be a Morpeko in the lead, Battle of the Electric-type Pokemon. This is going to be a little bit awkward here depending on how they play it out, because they could have access to Seed Bomb. I know sometimes you see that in this meta for the Mud Boys. We'll have to see what move they throw here. They opt to go for the Psychic Fangs, actually. A very interesting play in this meta. and they opt to throw another move actually before we can throw any energy, so I know this is just another Psychic Fangs. I am debuffed with our defense stat, but I can survive this pretty easily still, and now we can start reaching these Rock Blasts of our own, start throwing moves and trying to get shields or knock out this Morpeko. They might just let this go at this point. They've got quite a bit of work off with it. They do opt to let it go, and in comes a Cradily, a Pokemon that honestly our backline is pretty strong into. Even Golem's not that bad here, but I was double debuffed on our defense stat, so I didn't exactly want to stay in there. Could be a Rock Slide, could be a Stone Edge, depending on what they want to use on their Cradily. It looks like it's just going to be a Rock Slide, a move that does very little damage here to our Amoonguss. These fast moves are doing nothing because they are using a Grass-type Fast Attack Bullet Seed into our Grass and Poison-type Pokemon. They opt to let that go, and then they come in with the exact Pokemon we want to see. This is what Amoonguss is supposed to do. It baits out the Fire-type Pokemon, so our Jump Up doesn't have to deal with it later on this game. Foul Play is going to draw the shield. Maybe I can get to another one, maybe I can't. It's going to be very close here. Looks like they do get the full farm now, which could be a little bit tricky, but now I can make a funny play where I come to Golem for just a little bit, catch the Bone Club on our Jump Up. This move is going to do no damage to us, and since I know that at this point there's almost no way they are running Fire Blast, we can tank the charge move damage as well, and Jump Up is going to be able to knock them out with Aerial Aces potentially in just a second. Bone Club comes through, gets the defense drop, which is a little bit awkward actually. Now we're definitely in range where a Shadow Bone could knock us out here, but that's fine at this point. I think these Aerial Aces should draw the shield, and hopefully our Golem could be able to close out this backline. Yet another charge move coming through. They catch the attack on Cradily, a good play by them, but the thing is, I still have a shield. I can farm this thing down. This chip damage is actually going to be very helpful, because now I can roll at them down in one fast move, go for the Wild Charge against Marowak, and take the win. GG's to our opponent. Next matchup, a Poliwrath in the lead. One of the worst lead matchups we could really see here, but Amoonguss and Jump Up in the backline can definitely have play, and if I get shields down, Wild Charge could one-shot them, so if I can play for Switch or a lot of energy, maybe even just getting shields down this game, maybe that's all I have to do. This Energy Ball, or this Grass Knot rather, is going to do a decent chunk of damage. Let's see if they want to shield or not. Not quite yet. Toxapex obviously being one of the bulkiest Pokemon in the game. They don't want to expend shields this early on, and now what are they going to do? I'm going to shield up because I know a Sludge Wave would do a lot of damage. A Brine Bait is very risky from our opponent, but they do opt to go for the Sludge Wave here. Good stuff. Another Grass Knot is going to come through. If they want to shield this move up, I'm very fine with that. We'll have to see what they want to do, though. I want to draw shields down just so Wild Charges will be able to land against that Poliwrath later on. They're forced to throw energy right before I'm able to reach my next move on our Amoonguss, and now this is the perfect rollout down range where I can just shield once, farm them all the way down, or if they swap out, which they didn't want to give me the farm down, I can come in with our Jump Up and try to win the game this way. This is a little bit more awkward, though. I wish they would have given us that farm down, because I know Energy Advantage Golem. That's just the play, right? That's the Pokemon that you want to invest in a lot of times. Unless there's like a Ferrothorn or something, your energy is going to go miles with that thing. But this is still fine. I can at least go for Energy Balls. These Icy Winds are doing quite a bit of damage to us. They did opt to shield that first move up, which is a little bit awkward here, because now I'm double debuffed. This next charge attack might not even be enough to knock out this Poliwrath, which could be bad. But I know we can still reach this move, have energy for the backline just in case we need it, and Golem is going to be able to avoid this specific matchup. It depends on the final Pokemon, though, to see how much play we're going to have. They end up coming with a Decidueye. I do have energy for an Aerial Ace here, but I'm double debuffed. I don't think it's going to two-shot at this point. If it is, that would be fantastic, but no, that's not even close at this point. I have to come in with our Golem, try to go for a Rock Blast, but they win CNP. Decidueye does have just a little bit more attack than Golem here. Unfortunately, we lose that CP. If we could have won that CP, I think we win this game, but GG's to our opponent. Very well played. They didn't give us that farm down that we absolutely needed, but a very smart play for them to do that. Aerial Ace is going to be able to get the knockout this time, but I know they still have a Toxapex and a Poliwrath in the backline that could easily farm us down. GG's to them. Next matchup, Shadow Golem up against a Golisopod. Fantastic lead matchup. They could have Liquidation, but our Rock-type damage is going to add up very quickly, and they instantly swap out here to a Morpeko. This Pokemon could go for a Psychic Fang Bait. They might have C-Bomb. Could just be an Aura Wheel to boost their attack stat. What do? It is going to be a C-Bomb this time, which is good to know that that is the moveset they are running. Rock Blast is going to come through, either draw a shield or do massive damage to a very squishy Pokemon. Rock Blast, what is going to happen? It does end up getting the shield, and now our opponent ends up actually throwing on alignment here, trying to get our second shield, trying to throw on CMP. Fortunately, I went and overfarmed, which is fantastic, because now we will easily outpace the longer this matchup goes. Our opponent likely will have to no-shield this move now, and because of that, I'm going to go for the full undercharge here. I know we can go for a rollout down after this, and then have just a bit more energy after the fact. This is fantastic for us, but then in comes a Pokemon I don't really want to see with our Shadow Golem. It is a Ferrothorn. With that said, we've seen the lead, right? We know the full team, so safe swapping our Jump Up here is a very, very safe play. I bring it in here, they might swap out, they might stay in. Either way, Jump Up is going to have a lot of neutral play against this, and avoiding this on our Golem is going to be fantastic because we have a lot of energy there. We can go for Wild Charges against this later on if we can chip it down enough, or we can go for Rock Blasts against that Golisopod later on, even if we need to as well. If they ever come in with their Golisopod, I can go for Aerial Aces, chip them down, and make it so their life is very uncomfortable. They go for yet another charge move here, and they're in range at this point where Golem can definitely deal with them, and Amoonguss in the backline, it has a lot of use if I need it, but I don't even know if it's going to be necessary to win this game. I have the ace ready to go against this Golisopod. If they let this go, I just come in with our Golem. I try to get shields down with our Rock Blast here. If they end up shielding this up, I have another one very shortly after. They can't even get to a liquidation, even if they're running it. Golem is just a little bit too spammy here. We reach the move before even an X Scissors can be reached. Rock Blast should be more than enough to take them out, and Golem or Jump Bluff should be able to close out this game. And even if they can't, that's what Amoonguss is sitting in the backline waiting to do. GG's to our opponents. This team was so much fun. A lot of a spicier team than I normally run. I normally like to use just the hard meta Pokemon, but Shadow Golem, honestly, I can see why it worked out so well for Thorn earlier today. It's a very strong Pokemon, has a lot of pressure, even against some Pokemon that it shouldn't, on paper, have a good matchup into. You know, you can do a lot of damage to Ferrothorn, a lot of damage to the Mud Boys as well, and Amoonguss, the star of the show, one of the best safe swaps I've seen in this meta. Even the Fire-type Pokemon have to respect what it can do. Alright, well, thank you so much for watching today's video. If you want to see my battles live, I stream almost every single day at twitch.tv/ItsAXN, where you can see live insights into my gameplay and see my teams early. I'd love to see you there. The link to that is in the description. And if you want to see more videos like this, please make sure to subscribe. Thank you again for watching, take care, and I'll see you in the next one.